I think we're mixing a lot of apples and oranges when we're talking low and moderate income housing and Fannie. The truth is we're not even talking today for some reason about HUD or about tax credits or whatever. All the other things are going to low and moderate income housing. And I got to tell you, option 1, option 2, option 3, I feel like asking, can I get a salad instead of the soup? It's hard for anybody to follow. And
You'd like the salad and the soup?
I'd love to if I could, but I don't think we can afford that. For me, I look at housing as we all do. We all come to the table with our own experience. I live in my first and only owner-occupied two-family home. I don't know if there's anybody else on this panel or in this room who lives in their own two-family home. I bought it because I couldn't afford a single-family home. My children went to college on the basis of remortgaging that home. If I didn't have that home, my kids could not have gone to college. And even with that, they came out with significant loans. So for me, I really want to get to the bottom line. When we're done, I'd like to know the administration's goal on numbers. When anybody I know walks in to get a mortgage, they don't care who it comes from. They probably don't even know. Fannie Mae, FHA, private. They just want to know how much, what's it going to cost me, and will you give it to me? And for me, I come from one of the markets like most of the people on this top row. I come from a very expensive market. Most of the people in my district probably would never or seldom qualify for a Fannie loan. They just don't because the houses are too expensive, even with the new numbers. Some do, but not many. But we have a lot of young people in this room today, many of whom I'm willing to bet do not own a home. And if I were them, I'd be saying, when's my turn? If a young couple, 2 good jobs, good education, making 100 grand together, paying rent, probably paying student loans off, paying 1 or 2 auto loans off, trying to put something aside for everything else, what do you think is a fair amount to ask them for a moderately priced home? Now, again, that number changes. Mr. Ackerman's 100% right. Mr. Miller's right. Moderately priced home in my district is a castle in some of the other places for the numbers. But a moderately priced home, what do you expect them to pay? Do you expect them to pay 20% down? Do you expect them to pay 7 or 8 or 10%? How are they ever going to be able to get this together, and how are they ever going to hope to afford to send their children to college?
Excellent question, and let me just state again. We think it is very important to make sure that the FHA, which is HUD, through the FHA, still has the capacity to provide mortgages at reasonable cost to people that cannot afford to put a lot of money down on their house.
But I want to be clear. I'm not talking at the moment about people who have a lower education or have limited income. I'm talking about the people in this room. All the ones I know are very well educated, very intelligent, making decent incomes, and have probably a reasonably decent future. But as they're living their daily lives, it'll be almost impossible for them to put aside, on top of rent and student loans, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 for a down payment and then qualify for anything, especially for young women who say, maybe I want to have a family someday. How are they going to be able to do that if we don't address the long-term goal? How much are they going to pay? What's that goal?
Well, again, in the system today, and I think we'd want to preserve part of this, you'd be able to go to the FHA. You have to go to a bank and get an FHA guaranteed mortgage and only have to put down a very small fraction of the value of your house. And I think that's appropriate to try to maintain for people of low and moderate income. Now, where Congress defines those lines is a choice for Congress to make. For the rest of the American people, we want to have a system where the private market provides that finance, and we think that is possible.
You see, I think I'm talking about the vast majority of the American market. I'm not talking about the lower end. Maybe I'm wrong, but all the young people I know in this room are very intelligent people. They're going to have a great future. They are not the low end of the socioeconomic scale. They're going to have a great future. And how are they going to get in?
Well, I said low and moderate, but again, the choice, this is the fundamental choice, and you're right to raise it, which is the way to ask the question is it fair to ask all Americans to put their money at risk to help subsidize access to housing for more fortunate Americans? Now, where you draw that line is a judgment Congress has to make. You're right to say that if you put it too low, it'll still be unfair.
Well, for me, and I guess we all have to ask ourselves that question, I'm not interested in pulling up the ladder because I got lucky enough to get my house. I have children. I want them to be able to afford a home someday, a reasonable home in a reasonable neighborhood, as I do everybody else in this room. And I have to think, I agree with you, those are the questions we have to ask ourselves, It's also the questions the administration has to ask. And as we go forward, though I appreciate all the esoteric academic exercise we have to go through, in the final analysis, it's about how much. How much are we going to ask for them? And I think this administration has to do a little bit more than this white paper to help us answer that question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.